Hey friends, I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am filming this to sort of take you through this deck that I made to accompany the article that I just wrote for ED Publications. If you've not read that yet, you probably want to go and do that first. And then I also have a printable version of this on my website, so pull it up, print it out, or I'll figure out a way to edit this where you can just follow along with me. One of the reasons I'm doing this is I realize that if we're talking about a first signature cocktail menu, which is in fact what we're talking about, that it's a little overwhelming at first, but I think if I break it down, that's going to make it easier. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm not in the studio. I'm coming to you from my front porch. The studio. I'm coming to you from my front porch. So there may be some dogs and some kids, and we're just gonna have to make do. All right, so my first tip is get inspired by classic cocktails, and I used as examples martini, cosmopolitan, mule, old fashioned, margarita. There are many, many others. The reason that I suggest this is because these are drinks that have more or less stood the test of time, decades, in some cases, centuries, and the way that they are composed is something that already works. So you don't have to delve too far into the mixology to be able to create something good. So what you do is take one of these drinks and you change it. Change an element. It could be the base spirit, it could be a side character, it could be a bridge ingredient, or maybe we're going to add something to it, or maybe we're going to marry two of them together. It's up to you. So what we did was we took the espresso martini. Now, espresso martinis are a relatively contemporary drink, but they're one of the most popular drinks in the country right now. Who knew that this was possible? But unless you have a kitchen with a fancy espresso maker, they're not really great for the clubs. So what we did was we went out and we bought a Keurig. Keurigs can make a pretty close approximation of espresso, and that was good for the standard drinks. We would make them with, I think, Tito's and just a dash of Kahlua or a dash of Bailey's if the guest wanted a creamier drink. So we didn't have to keep saying no. But what we did was we also created a signature cocktail. We took our standard espresso martini and added to it maraschino liqueur. The brand is Luxardo. It's one of my favorites. It's a go to. I use it in a lot of other things. Chocolate bitters, which came in a set, and dusting of cocoa powder, which we would do on a standard espresso martini as well. And we served it with a chocolate covered cherry. We were trying to find ways to kind of mount the cherry on the drink, but that got a little messy. So we ended up just serving it in a little cup, and guests could put it in the drink and kind of let it melt. They could give it to their favorite entertainer. They could throw it at each other. No matter what we did, it got messy, but it was a nice little add on. So that's an example of how we took something that was pretty straightforward and made it our own. We called it the Insomniac's Dream, aka the chocolate covered cherry espresso martini. Okay, so now that we get the idea, before we start to really tear these classic cocktails apart, we need to remind ourselves to keep the mixology accessible. Even if we're not a high volume club, we are going to have to perform to volume at times, and we want to make sure that we're not loading our bartenders down with hours of prep and lots of different touches on the drink. So, what we did here was there was a drink. This is courtesy of Supperland in Charlotte. Thank you, Supperland, for letting me steal your cocktail. That was very complex. We're curdling things, we're clarifying things, we're lighting things on fire. Here, you can look at the recipe here. You can see all the different things that are in it. This requires a lot of advanced prep as well as a lot of prep on the spot. So you're conceivably waiting 8 or 9 minutes for this drink in a perfect world. So what we did was we started to pull apart the flavor profiles, and for me, it didn't look like, but it tasted like a margarita and like a banana colada fell in love. So we set about making that happen. Now, ours has a lot of ingredients. It's okay if you have a lot of ingredients, as long as everything is prepped. It's within easy reach of the bartender, and they can pour it with two hands in 30 seconds, which you can do with this drink. So to the tequila and the lime, the passion fruit, we kept all of that. Passion fruit is a go-to of mine as well. I can use it in a lot of different things. We introduced rum in order to get both the banana component and the coconut into the drink. The one change that we made on this, I will say, and it is a change, is we added pineapple. I liked the pineapple for a bridge ingredient. If you've ever added a little bit of pineapple to your margarita, you know that that kind of goes. And in terms of being a good blending partner for coconut, obviously that's been done for 100 years. So we did that. The other thing it did, though, was it allowed us to add some more tiki vibes to the drink and to make it a little less potent so that we could sell more of them. When you're thinking about accessible mixology, it's not just making it accessible for the bartender, which is important, it's making it accessible to the guest. Yeah, it's also another way, I think, to really be inspired by the things around us. That last drink was not a classic cocktail, but it was something that was interesting to us, and we were able to use it as inspiration while still making it work for our purposes. Now, as we go deeper on this journey, it's a good idea to understand the basic cocktail components. We don't have to go crazy with this, but we should understand them. Those components generally are alcohol, sour, sugar, bitters, and cream. So alcohol, one of the first determinations you have to make is your drink more boozy, more spirit forward, like a martini or a Manhattan or an old fashioned, or is it more refreshing, like a sour or a highball or a tiki drink? The amount of mixer to liquor can vary quite a lot, from almost none to 3 or 4 times as much. So that's something you need to decide. What is the intention behind this drink? The one thing about alcohol is the more that you add to the cocktail, the more it tends to take over. It's the star of the show. Everyone else is a side character. Sour. This normally comes from citrus, but not all citrus is created equal. Lemon and lime are by far the most tart, the most sour. Orange and pineapple, not so much. Sugar. Sugar is going to come from simple syrup. It's going to come from liqueurs that by definition have a certain amount of sugar in them. And it also comes from juices. So as you're adding these different components, as you're building your cocktail, you want to think about how much sugar you're adding to the overall experience. And are you balancing that out with sour, with alcohol, with bitter, or with cream? A bitter flavor component can actually add a lot of complexity almost automatically to your cocktails. This is going to come from actual bitters, but also a family of liquors known as Amari that are Italian herbal liqueurs, and also old pals like Campari and Aperol. That was a mixology joke. Ingredients like milk, cream, and even eggs add richness and change the texture, not so much the flavor profile of your drink. In fact, they tend to dilute some of the other flavors, maybe in a good way. You want to use them sparingly, but keep in mind drinks like the White Russian, the Orgasm, and the Mudslide were popular for a reason. Enough chemistry? Okay, let's look at how we're going to design this cocktail menu from a completely different standpoint. Demographics. Who is actually going to be drinking these drinks? Who are they for? This is a little bit of an aside, but there are two mistakes that I see when it comes to demographics. One is creating programming for the clientele or the demographic that you have, not the demographic that you actually want. On the other end of the spectrum, there's creating programming for a demographic that no longer exists. Stop talking about the daddies. At KMA, we divide the demographics that we're actively seeking into 5 or 6 different categories, which I've outlined here. We have the professionals or the pros. That is business clientele, a little bit older, a little more sophisticated. Could be from here, could be traveling from a convention. Amateurs are the opposite. They're the people that don't always come to the clubs, don't necessarily know how everything works, don't necessarily drink a lot all the time. They may be tourists, or they may just be people who don't do this every day. Next generation. These are the dreaded millennials, Gen Xers, Gen Zers. Do we have another one by now? These are the younger people that are kind of confounding a lot of us right now because they don't have the typical spending patterns. They don't go out as much. They don't drink as much. They don't like the clubs that much. So they're a little bit of a harder sell. Celebrities doesn't refer to actual celebrities. They may fall into a different category or a category unto themselves. Celebrities are anyone who's celebrating anything, whether they have a reservation or they just came in spur of the moment. Lady power. Don't forget about your females. These could be your female performers if they are able to consume signature cocktails, but also any females in the audience, whether they be couples, part of a couple, bachelorette parties, or just women having a night out. Finally, there's our big bangers. These are the high rollers who spend money as a point of pride. It is part of their identity, and we are happy to assist them in doing so. So this is a cool little thing that we invented. Basically, we're going to grid our menu out. On the left-hand side are going to be the alcohols that we know that need to be featured on this menu. Now, we didn't talk about that too much in this section, but I think we talk about it in the main article, working with vendors. Vendors are going to ask you to feature certain products, and they're going to offer you things in exchange. So those things are going to go on that list. Also, maybe something that you need to get rid of or you don't know how to sell, maybe just something that's popular that you know is going to appeal to a lot of people. Make sure, and I think we did it here, that all your major spirit categories are covered because a lot of people will choose their signature cocktail, which they don't know anything else about, solely based on the base spirit. At the top here, we have our demographic categories. So we're going to make sure that each demographic has something that theoretically serves it, and we're going to make sure that each important spirit is represented. Okay, so here is a sample finished menu, and as you can see, I have 8 different drinks. Um, that means that a couple of demographics were represented more than once and a couple of spirits were represented more than once, which is absolutely fine, just as long as we have one per each, which we do. However, 8 is about as many as I would consider putting on your menu, especially if it really is your first signature cocktail menu. You want to have somewhere between 5 and 8, go lower rather than higher if this is your first time. So at the top here, we have a Naked in Manhattan. That was supposed to sort of appeal to our more sophisticated professional drinkers. It is based on a classic Manhattan. We just added a couple of different things, including swapping out the vermouth and doing maraschino and adding an orange component. The Sugar Baby, that must be for our ladies in the audience because it's based on the classic Cosmo. We took away the vodka, the citrus vodka. We did tequila instead because of its popularity, and that's what a lot of our ladies seem to be drinking already. Added our passion fruit because we already had it in house, and we did something cool with the rim. Toxic Masculinity, that was also, I think, a pro drink because it is made with Hendrick's, but it's a take on it's an unusual take on a Negroni. Fever Water, here was our swipe at the next generation. So what we did here is a little bit different. We use Tito's because it's very neutral, or whatever vodka it is that is supporting you. Fresh lemon, apple, and ginger with a dash of celery bitters. It all sounds very healthy, which we thought might appeal, and low cal. We called it Fever Water because we use Fever Tree ginger beer. However, the most important thing here is that we can make it as both a zero or low proof option. Obviously, zero, we would leave the vodka out completely. Low proof, we would only do half a shot. So this actually appeals to a lot of the clientele that want to drink light or they don't want to drink at all. By the way, always have mocktails on your menu. Try to make as many things that can be converted into mocktails. There's no reason that people aren't drinking either tonight or ever. There's no reason they can't be invited to the party. Drink the pink. So this is where we use our passion fruit and our prickly pear syrup, which, if those of you who've never worked with it before, is extremely bright and makes a beautiful pink color. And we also made this a little bit of a choose your own adventure. You can top it with champagne, serve it in a flute, and make it a really elegant celebratory drink. Or we can pull back on the, it's not going to be champagne, it's going to be sparkling wine, but pull back on the sparkling wine and turn it into a shot that you can pound. So everybody who knows me knows I love taking bachelor parties and bros and giving them rounds of pink shots. The Bikini Bottom is the drink that we already sliced and diced above. It was the one that was very complicated to make at one of the fine dining restaurants here, and we turned it into an easy to execute but very tropical and fun experience. Insomniac's Dream we also talked about. That's our take on the espresso martini. And then finally, we have the low roller. This one's fun. I've been doing it for a little while here because Remy Martin was one of our push brands. It could just as well be Hennessy or something else. We use Remy XO, the higher end mark, added some nice white peach puree, orange curacao, and it comes with a split. It's topped with actual champagne, but it comes with your own little split. So this is a $70 cocktail. Easy. This is aimed at the banger, someone who wants the most expensive thing on the menu, because we had some success with that over the years, or whatever version of it. We actually made a high roller version, and the high roller is served with Louis XIII, which is made by Remy Martin. And instead of a split of Moet, it comes with a bottle of Dom. That is easily a $1,000 experience, and believe me, you have to have the presentation to match. There should be kind of some gold coated garnish, and it should come with a huge bottle parade, lights, smoke, the works. So that's our menu. I hope that that kind of helped get you in the headspace to be creative and come up with your own. Take a look at the how to roll out a new initiative graphic. It's kind of cute. It has a couple inside jokes. It's okay if you don't get them. And that is what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. It is happy hour, so cheers, everybody. And if you have additional questions, or any of this is completely confusing or unclear, just hit me up and let me know. If you liked it, also hit me up and let me know. And we always love helping people generate menus. We've got lots of different cocktails in our back pocket, so we're always happy to help. But this is designed for you to be able to do it completely 100% by yourself without KMA. Good luck.